Hi, my name is Caleb Binger, and today I'm going to be presenting on our final project. So, to start, this is an anti-theft package. I went with the one that we were assigned to do. And first of all, this is my overview. You can see we got two ultrasonics, we got a buzzer, a light, a button, and then a servo, an accelerometer. And then we have eight AA batteries. These are giving 12 volts. And they're not quite connected accurately. I ended up using this connector along with this. So instead of using the direct wiring as shown in that picture, I can plug it directly in to the breadboard. Um, but other than that, this wiring diagram is just about perfect. So you can see we have ultrasonic set up. Um, those pin layouts, as far as on the Arduino, are exactly what I have set up. So each of the ultrasonics takes two pins for the echo and trigger pins. The servo takes one pin. The accelerometer takes two pins. These are actually the SCL and SDA pins. So these aren't being read like the other ones. And then we have the button taking up a pin, and then we have the LED taking up a pin. And then we're powering the Arduino uh, through all of this using the voltage in and ground pins. So this is our flow chart. As far as the flow chart goes, we're going to initialize our pin and other variables. So we're just initializing all of these pins we're using in there. Most of the blue ones and some of the red ones. There's three red ones we're initializing. And then we're going to check, is the device armed? We have a variable that just says true or false. Is it armed? It starts default no. So we're going to go and check if, well, not check, we're going to turn the servo into safe mode, and then we're going to turn off the buzzer if it's on, and then change trigger to false. And trigger is another true false variable, checking whether the device has been moved or shaken at all. So then we're going to check, has the button been pressed 3 times in 3 seconds? If you're just not touching it, the answer is going to be no. Oh, the answer is going to be no. And we're just going to keep looping through that. We're going to keep checking, is device armed? No. And we're going to keep going through that. If the button is pushed 3 times in 3 seconds, we're going to change that arm state. When we loop back, device is going to be armed. Now we're going to check, has the button been pushed 3 times again? So in case it's been armed and then disarmed, it's not going to do anything. But it's going to go up past that. And if not, it's going to check the ultrasonic and accelerometers. And then it's going to go check if those have been triggered. Once we've taken the values, we're going to compare them, and we're going to see if they've moved from what they were when they were first initialized. And then if not, we're going to keep looping through that. It's going to be armed, but nothing's going to change. And then if they have been moved, we're going to change trigger state to true. And if the trigger state is true, we're going to turn servo to fire position and turn on the buzzer. And then from there, we're going to continue looping through. It could be this outermost loop if it's continually moved, or it could be like the second outermost. But it's going to keep looping. It's going to stay on firing until the device is disarmed. If we go device armed and then we push the button 3 times, it's going to change our arm state to not on to false. And then it's going to turn the servo to safe, turn off buzzer. So for an example of a code, this is the button code. I have 6 trigger variables. And I'm checking that the button is push, released, push, released, push, released. It has to be pushed and released 3 times. And it has to be done within 3 seconds. So you can see we're checking that these are done in that order. We're checking, we declare the first trig variable in the first time the button's pushed. That was before this. But right here, we're checking that if the button has been released, if that first variable has been triggered, and if it's been less than the elapsed time we set, which is 3 seconds. So we're going to do this for each of them, checking whether the previous one has been cleared, and then if it has been in the proper push or release state, and if it's less than the time. And once we get to the 6th one, then we're going to change our arm state to true, or change the current arm state. So that way, if the button is pushed while it's armed, it'll disarm it. This is ultrasonics. We're going to include that, but this is pretty much what we did in class. So we're going to include the ultrasonic, and then we're going to declare all the trig variables, all the echo variables, and then we're going to make 2 long variables to hold the data. We're going to make two objects for the ultrasonics. We got SR04 and SR05, and then later on in the code, we set A and B equal to those distances. This isn't a screenshot just because this was all over the place and this was code that needed to be condensed into one spot. Next, we got the accelerometer. So most of this code was actually sourced from an Arduino project I found online. That's the link if you want to check it out. And then since the accelerometers aren't being read like normal pins, they're using the SCL and SDA. we have to include the wire.h package. And then I took out all the comments in this code. There is comments in the code. I can submit the code. But we took out most of the comments because I had to condense it all. There was a lot here. And from what I understand, the way this works is this reads data not as digital or analog, um, but it takes in hexadecimal values. And then once it's taken in that hexadecimal value, it's going to convert it to just binary, and then I'm able to read it as an integer. And then this very last line, the accelerometer underscore x equals wire.read, that is taking in the x value of the accelerometer. So I take in the x and the z, and I see if those change, and then I compare that to the original. This is our servo, same as we did in class. We include the servo package, we create the object, declare the pin, assign the pin to the servo, and then move the servo. So I have the servo written that 180 degrees is when it is not firing. I'll pull it out real quick, actually. So this is the setup with the spray paint and the servo. You can see this is going to be our not firing. And then I would move this down, but there's spray paint connected there. So if I move it down, I'm going to spray my computer. But then that 90 degrees is going to rotate this 90 degrees, and it's going to push down the spray paint, like right there. I don't know if that's visible. And then it'll come out right the front there. And then we have our buzzer. This is just the active buzzer we used in class. We assign the button pin, assign that button to the output, and then this was a little snippet of when it's armed. So we're going to turn that buzzer to high, and then we're going to delay 100 seconds so we can hear it beep, and then we're going to turn it off and delay 50 seconds. So when we're looping that, it goes beep, 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 kind of like that. And then that's it for my slideshow. I'm going to connect in the video with me testing this. Thank you.
Get up. Oh, all right. I'm Caleb Vinger. This is my final project. So I put it in the keyboard case, but what we got going on here is we have the batteries right here. This is giving it 12 volts of power. There's 8 of these in this pack. It's going to the Arduino. And then we have a servo running the spray paint right here. And then we have a buzzer as my second deterrent. And then we have 2 ultrasonic sensors. The first one is right here. The second one's kind of buried in here. It's hard to see. This one checks the ground. If its distance from the ground changes, it sends a signal. And then if this one's distance from this wall right here, it sends a signal. And then right here we have an accelerometer. And if that moves, it'll send a signal. If all 3 of them go, it'll set off the servo and send the spray paint. We arm it by pushing this button 3 times. So I should be able to go. And that light turns on, that means it's armed. If I push it just once, it should beep twice because it won't do anything. If I push it 2 times, it won't do anything. If I push it twice and hold it for the 3rd time, it doesn't do anything. I have to push and release it. Oh. Push and release it 3 times for it to work. So I'll show you it working right now. We'll go ahead and arm it. When I arm it, it takes the signal from whatever the current reading is for the accelerometer and the ultrasonic sensors, and once it has those readings, if it changes too much from those, then it'll set the whole thing off. So we'll push this 3 times, we'll arm it, and then I'm not going to seal the whole thing up, but we should be able to. And it starts spraying, and then I can disarm it by pushing it 3 times. And it all works. I'm able to, it's all disarmed. I can rearm it if I want. Pushing that another 3 times. You can set it down. I push 1, 2, 3. That's armed. Disarmed. All right.